they're schoolyard bullies. Like, everybody here has had an experience with you, or you were the schoolyard bully, which some people were. But like, yeah, schoolyard bully, like they'll take your lunch money and they work off fear. There's nothing to fear from these guys. Like, pop them in the mouth and they'll cry. It talks hard.
Let me show you the perfect example. And to the audience, I know it sounds like we're just kind of rehashing a bunch of Twitter drama, but this is important. This is a good microcosm of how MAGA operates, and I think it's worth at least reading this out. It's also entertaining. This guy named Jim Hansen, who is he's the chief strategist for a Middle East forum. He's a Fox contributor or whatever. He wrote this long Twitter thread. I can't think of anything more comical than a 23-year-old with zero world accomplishments thinking he knows anything. He writes this long thread, and at the end of it he goes, "Talk is cheap. Unimportant trash talk from fatuous, fat-faced, feather-brained is the cheapest."
Wow.
It's fine. But then I said, you wrote a lot of words there, but you still can't answer the infamous question. Can you name one single political concession Trump has gotten out of Iran 6 days into this war? He writes another long-ass fucking thing with no answer, no concession. So I said, dude, if you're a chief strategist for the Middle East, no wonder we're so fucked. And then this guy goes, wow, so all you know is just how to throw lame insults at me? Wow. And it's like, dude, you started off this thread by calling me a fatuous, fat-faced, feather-brained moron or whatever the fuck. And now when I reciprocate that exact energy, listen, I may be a fat-faced, feather-brained moron, but I'm not fatuous. No, I don't know. I'm just
Can't even spell fatuous. No, but like, can I zero in on one thing he said there though? Because like, forget the like physical appearance stuff. Like, whatever, they make fun of me for being fat too. You can't see it off screen, but I have the photo of me over here where I finished my first 10K. At like 400 pounds after losing 200, and they send me this photo to go, look at you, fat ass, you're a real alpha male. And I'm like, yeah, you're showing me an example of one of my greatest accomplishments, losing 200 pounds. Like, what are you hoping to accomplish? But you know, they mock you for your age. They go, oh, Adam Mockler's a 23-year-old. He's never accomplished anything. I'm like, at 23 years old, you've built an incredibly impressive audience, a massive media company. You have gone and fought with some of the biggest names in television who have been doing this for decades and whooped their asses and held the Trump administration accountable. And we should be, even if I disagreed with you, all right, even if you and I were like far apart on the issues, we should celebrate somebody like you at your age who's willing to put themselves out there and do that work and be a voice, because nobody speaks for Gen Z in American politics. Nobody, all right? And you've got these kids that they prop up like Brillin Hollyhands and the other one, Link, these guys that are like, dime store Charlie Kirks. They worshipped Charlie Kirk when he was your age because he agreed with the things that you did. And Charlie Kirk was, R.I.P., okay? I don't want him to be assassinated, but he was an asshole. And he said hurtful things. And you're out there and you're doing it without being rude, without attacking people for no reason. You're not questioning whether or not black people should be pilots or women should be Secret Service agents. You're out there articulating your worldview. And you don't deserve to be treated like that. So fuck them for treating you that way.
No, thank you. First of all, I appreciate you standing up for me. I appreciate the kind word. It's great to have this great community. And they can treat...
The official name of this show is Don't Talk to Me or My Son Ever Again. Like,
yeah, don't talk to us like that. I think that it's the natural conclusion that they're going to be threatened when people like you or people like I are pushing back because we're savvy debaters, and you also really just bring it to them and trigger them so incredibly hard. It shows who they are. And again, I hate these petulant, older, usually like men who are on Twitter who dish it out constantly but cannot take it. The entire MAGA movement is the leader, Donald Trump, going, I can't believe this person died. I'm going to make fun of them right after they died. And then we go, whoa, dude, you're a little bit of a crazy, unhinged, lunatic fascist. And they're like, Did you just say the word fascist towards them? No way. It's just so annoying, the double standards at play.
Right.
You need to be pushing back so incredibly relentlessly to kind of loop it back around. When the Daily Wire is doing mass layoffs, they're clearly struggling to keep afloat a movement that was once popping.
Yes.
When the midterms are coming up and they're about to get smacked, we're about to head into the oversight committees, it's going to become even harder for these types of people to make content based off of their own mistakes and their own failures. We have people like Scott Jennings who clearly is hitting a breaking point, and we just have to continue pushing back. You made a great point.
What if the greatest mystery in human history has already been solved? Well, today we're tackling the ultimate question: is there life after death? My guest is Dr. Jeffrey Long. He's a medical doctor, an oncologist, and the world's foremost researcher on near-death experiences. So he hasn't just listened to a few wild stories. He's compiled the largest scientifically documented database of NDEs on the planet. And what he's found is absolutely mind-blowing. Dr. Long has discovered an undeniable connective tissue between thousands of people who crossed over and come evidence of the afterlife, the universal encounters with a higher power, and what many are calling the ultimate scientific proof of God. So get ready to have your entire reality shifted. Let's dive in. Keeping it real with Jillian Michaels. Dr. Long, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing fantastic. I'm glad to be here.
I gotta tell you that I have read your book, I've watched your interviews, I've been waiting to talk to you for such a long time to establish for the audience you are the foremost researcher on near-death experiences in the world, are you not?
I think that's a little bit of an overstatement. I'm very prominent. My research website has collected and we've investigated over 4,000 near-death experiences. So, if you will, I'm right up there on the chain of people that do research in this.
And you got into this because you work in your radiation oncology doctor. Can you give the audience a little bit of an idea about who you are, what you do, and what prompted you into this transition?
Oh, that's great, Jillian. Of course, as a radiation oncology physician, I'm still working part-time, but it was decades ago. I was in my residency training. That was pre-internet. That's how long ago that was. But I was at the medical library flipping through a journal looking for a cancer-related article, and completely by accident, I came across an article that had in the title near-death experience, and I'm like, what's this? Everything I knew in my medical training was you're either dead or you're not dead. So what's this near-death experience? So intrigued, I went ahead and read the article and was fascinated. Here was a study from a physician who had investigated some patients with near-death experiences. They had what often happens early in the experience, we call it an out-of-body experience. Consciousness rises above the body. And in his study, what the patient saw, what they heard in the near-death experience while they were actually clinically dead. He's a cardiologist, and these are patients that had no heartbeat. They were being resuscitated. But what they saw at that critical juncture was real. When they asked about the patient, verified it later. So, again, I was absolutely fascinated. I mean, how can you not be fascinated about what happens after we die? And here was an intriguing line of evidence suggesting an answer. So that got me going, and then several years later, I set up my research near-death experience website, and boom, 25 years later, here we are talking. A lot of water under the bridge since then.
I think a lot of people are afraid to die. Do you think that's a safe assumption, Doctor?
There's no question about that. Fear of death is sort of that background cloud that we have, like all of us, hanging over our head, I think, at some time or another, or even a good portion of our life. And Jillian, it's not just fear of our personal death, but what about our friends, family, loved ones, or someone who's actually passed on? I mean, it's a fairly common concern, and I think appropriately so, to worry what happens after the dead. Are they all right? Are they going to go on having a conscious existence? And that is where I share your delight about near-death experiences there by the thousands, not only my research, but literally scores and scores of other researchers finding consistent descriptions that we really do have a survival of who we are, what we are, everything we are goes on as a conscious existence after a permanent bodily death. And I share your thoughts on that too, Jillian. That to me, even after all these decades of studying it, is just incredibly inspiring. And it brings me back to that basic principle of science. What's real is consistently observed. And that's the fascination of near-death experiences, because these overwhelmingly consistent observations, description of what lies beyond death's veil is absolutely astonishing, and we keep getting new experiences every week, obviously.
Gosh, okay, I want to attack this. I want to be a skeptic. I'm watching this and I'm going, well, when the body is dying, the brain is starved of oxygen, it releases all of these chemicals that are akin to different psychedelics. There's one famously, I think it's DME, I can't remember. DMT, thank you, Doc. The brain releases these psychedelics, and that's what's happening. It's all a hallucination. What does one say to that?
That's absolutely been an interest of mine, literally for the 25 years I've been into this research. Doing the science properly, I've investigated very careful possible brain-produced explanations of near-death experiences. So you mentioned DMT, which is a known psychotropic or brain-acting drug that causes hallucinatory experiences. We've actually had a number of people that had near-death experiences that also described taking DMT or other types of hallucinogenic psychotropic drugs. And over, people that actually have had near-death experiences and taken those drugs repeatedly say the near-death experience was nothing like that. The psychotropic drugs were, as the cause of action would be expected, hallucinatory, unreal experiences. Events skip around like dreams, not so with near-death experiences. They often had diminished consciousness. It was frightening, and you just don't see that kind of, and of course, very inconsistent pattern. And a lot of what you see in a near-death experience, all but never described in these hallucinogenic brain-acting drugs. And let's not forget, too, Jillian, classic near-death experiences have been recorded by the score when people are under general anesthesia. And of course, at that time, heart is very well monitored, so boom, when you have that cardiac arrest, when heart stops, you know it. The medical team knows it. And yet, at that time, again, by the scores, classic near-death experiences. Now, under that blanket of anesthesia, general anesthesia, it should be doubly impossible to have a lucid, organized experience when you're under anesthesia and your heart stops. And yet the near-death experiences at that time are identical to near-death experiences occurring at all other times from all other causes. So absolutely, in those circumstances, impossible to have anything due to physical brain function, you name it, electrical activity, chemical cascade, low oxygen levels, high carbon dioxide. I mean, nothing can possibly explain these types of near-death experiences.
I want to start with the out-of-body experiences, and you talk about something called blind sight. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. That is, I guess to answer blind sight, I have to explain one of the most fascinating interviews I've done with someone who had a near-death experience a while back. Her name was Vicky. Vicky was born totally blind. To Vicky, vision was unknown and unknowable. I tried to explain vision in terms of the remaining 4 bodily senses, and it was like, whoosh, I mean, you just can't do it. It's completely different. And so Vicky was a talented singer and was being driven by, she sang at a bar, being driven home by an unfortunately inebriated patron, and boom, they had a bad car accident. And so the first time Vicky had vision, was when she had that out-of-body experience, consciousness above her body, and there was her body down on the gurney in the emergency room. She was initially frightened because vision was so unknown and different, and it really took her a while to correlate the feel of her long hair and, interestingly, a ring that her father had given her that she knew her entire life only through feel. Now she could see. Vicky went on to have a very classic near-death experience through a tunnel, reviewing the portions of her prior life in these unearthly, beautiful realms. And when she came back, she described vision the way so many people that have a near-death experience do. Vision to Vicky, and actually many other near-death experiencers, is what we call 360 degrees. She's simultaneously aware of vision in front of her, behind her, right, left, up.
I will be at
while others struggle despite eating the same foods? What if I told you that the answer has nothing to do with counting calories or cutting carbs? What if the real secret is something so simple, so obvious, that it's been hiding in plain sight this entire time? The exact moment you stop eating. For decades, we've been fed the same nutritional gospel. A calorie is a calorie. It doesn't matter if you eat that bowl of pasta at lunch or at midnight. The energy equation is simple. Calories in versus calories out. Your body is just a furnace, and food is fuel. Burn more than you consume, and you'll lose weight. That's what we've been told. That's what the experts promised us. But here's the uncomfortable truth that modern biology is finally exposing. This entire framework is fundamentally wrong. Your body is not a simple machine that processes energy the same way at every hour of the day. It's not a calculator that treats 500 calories at breakfast the same as 500 calories right before bed. Your body is far more sophisticated than that. It's a living, breathing, rhythmic organism governed by ancient biological clocks that have been fine-tuned over millions of years of evolution. You have a master clock ticking inside you right now. It's orchestrating thousands of hormonal symphonies every single day. It tells your organs when to work and when to rest. It signals your metabolism when to burn and when to store. And here's what most people don't realize. When you eat against this clock, when you ignore these natural rhythms, your body doesn't just store a little extra fat. It fundamentally shifts from fat burning mode into fat storage mode. It locks the doors to your fat cells and throws away the key. When you make the decision to stop eating at 6 p.m., something extraordinary happens. You're not just skipping an evening snack or avoiding dessert. You're doing something far more powerful. You're performing what I call a biological handshake with your hormones. You're telling your pancreas, your liver, your brain, and every cell in your body that you're ready to work with them instead of against them. You're aligning your eating pattern with the ancient rhythm of sunrise and sunset, the same rhythm that governed human metabolism for hundreds of thousands of years before electric lights and 24-hour drive-thrus convinced us that midnight snacking was normal. In the next several minutes, we're going to take a deep dive into your cells. We're going to travel through time, hour by hour, and witness exactly what happens inside your body from the moment you finished your last bite at 6 p.m. until you wake up the next morning. We'll explore the precise mechanisms that make the window between midnight and 6 a.m. the golden opportunity for visceral fat loss. We'll uncover how a single hormone, one you probably only associate with sleep, can either become your most powerful ally in burning belly fat or your worst saboteur in packing it on. And I promise you this, once you see what happens to your insulin levels when the sun goes down, once you understand the hormonal chaos that a single late-night snack creates, you will never look at eating after dinner the same way again. But before we unlock the science behind the 6 p.m. rule, before we reveal what's really happening in your metabolism right now, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Because here, we don't just throw around diet trends or recycled advice. We transform complex biology into knowledge you can actually use. We turn scientific research into your personal success story. And trust me, what you're about to learn will change everything. It's 6 p.m. You've just finished what will be your last meal of the day. Maybe it was a balanced dinner with lean protein, vegetables, and some complex carbohydrates. Maybe it was something simpler. Either way, your fork is down, your plate is empty, and inside your body, a precisely choreographed biological process is beginning. For the next 3 hours, your digestive system shifts into high gear. This period is called the postprandial phase, which is just a fancy medical term for after eating. Your stomach is breaking down that food into smaller and smaller components. Your intestines are absorbing nutrients. And most importantly, glucose, the simplest form of sugar that your body uses for immediate energy, is flooding into your bloodstream. Now here's where things get interesting. Your body has a very sensitive monitoring system. The moment your blood sugar starts to rise, your pancreas detects it. And like a well-trained security team responding to an alarm, your pancreas immediately releases insulin into your bloodstream. Think of insulin as a security guard standing at the door of every cell in your body. His primary job is to take that incoming glucose and escort it safely inside your cells, where it can be used for energy. He's incredibly efficient at this. He makes sure your muscles get the fuel they need. He ensures your brain has the glucose it requires to function. He's essential for survival. But here's what most people don't know about this security guard. He has a second job, and this second job is where everything changes when it comes to belly fat. Insulin isn't just an energy distributor, it's also a storage hormone. And whenever insulin levels are elevated, whenever this security guard is on active duty, he does something critical. He locks the door to your fat stores. Your body operates on a simple principle. It cannot burn stored fat while it's busy processing incoming food. It's one or the other. Either you're in consumption mode, dealing with fresh nutrients, or you're in burning mode, tapping into stored reserves. You cannot do both simultaneously. When insulin is high, the fat burning door is sealed shut. Your body is in storage mode, not burning mode. Now imagine what happens if you eat dinner at 8 p.m. or even 9 p.m. That insulin security guard doesn't just work a normal shift. He's pulling overtime. He's still on duty at 10 p.m., still processing glucose at 11 p.m., and in many cases, he's still working past midnight. That means for all those hours, your body never gets the chance to switch into fat burning mode. The door stays locked. The stored fat, especially that stubborn belly fat, remains completely untouched. But when you stop eating at 6 p.m., you're giving that security guard an early shift. You're allowing the natural process to complete on schedule. By 9 p.m., just 3 hours after your last bite, something beautiful starts to happen. Your insulin levels begin their natural descent. The glucose from your dinner has been properly distributed to your cells. Your bloodstream is clearing out. The chaos of digestion is settling down. Your body is now transitioning into a completely different state. It's moving from consumption mode into what I call maintenance mode. The immediate work of processing food is done, and now your body can begin preparing for something far more important, the deep cellular repair and fat-burning work that can only happen when you're not eating. This is where the real magic begins. While the rest of the world is sitting on their couches, mindlessly snacking on chips, cookies, and ice cream, spiking their insulin over and over again, your body is doing something completely different. It's preparing to unlock the vault. It's getting ready to access the stored energy that's been sitting in your belly, your hips, your thighs, waiting to be used. Around 9 p.m., as darkness settles in and your body senses the absence of daylight, there's a finely small pineal gland tucked away in the center of your brain, and as night approaches, this tiny gland begins secreting a hormone you've definitely heard of, melatonin. Most people know melatonin as the sleep hormone. It's what makes you feel drowsy. It's what helps you drift off into deep, restorative sleep. But melatonin has a secret role that almost nobody talks about. It has a profound effect on your metabolism, and here's where the science gets absolutely fascinating. Melatonin and insulin, these two hormones, they don't play well together. In fact, they're in direct conflict, and understanding this conflict is the key to understanding why eating late at night is such a disaster for your waistline. Here's the evolutionary context. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans ate during daylight hours and slept when it was dark. We didn't have refrigerators. We didn't have artificial lighting. We couldn't see our food in the dark, so we simply didn't eat at night. Our biology evolved around this pattern. Our hormones, our digestive system, our metabolism, everything was optimized for daytime eating and nighttime fasting. Because of this deep evolutionary programming, when melatonin levels rise at night, your body sends a very specific signal to your pancreas: slow down. Your pancreas, the organ responsible for producing insulin, becomes less responsive at night. It doesn't produce insulin as efficiently, and even when it does produce insulin, your cells become naturally resistant to it. This is called circadian insulin resistance, and it's a completely normal biological response. Your body is essentially saying, we shouldn't be eating right now. This is sleep time, not digestion time.
Now here's the problem. If you eat a snack at 10 p.m., if you grab those leftover cookies or that bowl of cereal right before bed, your body is completely unprepared to handle it. Your insulin guard is already drowsy. He's been told to go off duty. He can't efficiently move that sugar into your cells the way he could during the day. The whole system is sluggish. So what happens to all that sugar floating around in your bloodstream? It stays there much longer than it should. And while it's circulating, it's causing problems. It's triggering inflammation. It's creating oxidative stress. And eventually, when your overwhelmed system finally does deal with it, that sugar gets diverted to the easiest, most convenient storage site available, your belly fat. Specifically, it goes to visceral fat, the dangerous fat that wraps around your internal organs, the fat that increases your risk of heart disease, diabetes, and metabolic syndrome, the fat that's hardest to lose once it's there. But when you stop eating at 6 p.m., you avoid this entire catastrophic hormonal clash. By the time melatonin starts rising at 9 p.m., your insulin is already trending downward. There's no new food coming in. There's no glucose spike for your sluggish nighttime pancreas to deal with. Your body exists in a state of perfect hormonal harmony. Melatonin can do its job of preparing you for sleep, and insulin can quietly finish its job without interference. This is the first major victory of the 6 p.m. rule. You're not fighting your biology anymore. You're working with it. Are you finding this breakdown helpful? If this is making sense, if you're starting to see why timing matters just as much as what you eat, do me a favor and give this video a like. It helps us continue creating this kind of in-depth, science-based content that actually changes lives. Midnight has arrived. You're sound asleep, and you haven't eaten for 6 full hours. Inside your body, something remarkable is happening. Your insulin levels have now dropped to their baseline. That security guard we talked about earlier, he's finally gone home. He's off duty. And with him gone, the door to your fat reserves swings wide open. This is the moment your body has been waiting for. This is when the real transformation begins. Your body is incredibly intelligent. When there's no glucose coming in from your digestive system, when your blood sugar is stable and low, your metabolism switches fuel sources. Instead of running on the food you just ate, it starts running on the food you've already stored, your body fat. And here's what most people don't realize. Your body doesn't just randomly burn fat from anywhere. It has priorities. It starts with the most metabolically active fat first, and the most metabolically active fat in your entire body is visceral fat, that deep belly fat stored around your liver, your intestines, your kidneys, all of your vital organs. This is the fat that doctors warn you about. This is the fat that shows up on medical scans as a serious health risk. It's linked to insulin resistance, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, even certain cancers. It's the fat that makes your belly protrude, that creates that hard, round appearance that no amount of sit-ups seems to fix. But here's the good news. Visceral fat, despite being the most dangerous, is also the most responsive to fasting. It's designed to be mobilized quickly, and when your insulin is low for extended periods, your body preferentially targets this fat for energy. Between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., while you're in your deepest sleep, your body enters what scientists call a state of high-efficiency fat oxidation. Your liver, working quietly and efficiently, starts converting stored body fat into molecules called ketones. These ketones become your primary fuel source during this overnight fast. Think of it as an internal furnace that only turns on when the conditions are perfect. While you're completely unconscious, while you're dreaming, your body is literally mining your belly for energy. It's using that stored fat to keep your heart beating, your lungs breathing, your brain processing, your immune system patrolling. Every single calorie your body needs during these critical hours is being pulled directly from your fat stores. This is pure, uninterrupted fat burning. No insulin spikes, no glucose interference, no hormonal chaos, just your body doing exactly what it was designed to do, using stored energy when food isn't available. Now, imagine the alternative scenario. Imagine you had eaten a snack at 10 p.m. Maybe it was just a small bowl of ice cream. Maybe it was some crackers and cheese. Doesn't matter. That late-night food would completely derail this entire process. Your body would still be struggling with that glucose spike at midnight. Your insulin would still be elevated. That furnace would never ignite. Instead of burning fat from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., your body would spend those precious hours still processing the food you ate before bed. You would completely miss the golden window. 4 hours of prime fat-burning time gone. And this doesn't just happen once. If you eat late every single night, you're missing this window every single night, day after day, week after week, month after month. Your body never gets the chance to tap into those deep fat stores. Is it any wonder that belly fat becomes so stubborn? Your body never gets the opportunity to burn it. But when you follow the 6 p.m. rule, you give your body this opportunity every single night. You're not just burning fat occasionally. You're creating a consistent, predictable pattern that your metabolism can rely on. Your body learns that between midnight and 6 a.m., it's going to be in fat-burning mode. And over time, it gets better and better at this process, more efficient, more effective. The fat starts melting away because you finally stopped interrupting the process. As As we move into the early morning hours, somewhere between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., another critical player enters the story. This is a hormone that most people have heard of, but very few people understand. It's called human growth hormone, or HGH for short. Human growth hormone is often called the fountain of youth hormone, and for good reason. It does extraordinary things for your body. It promotes muscle growth and preservation. It helps repair damaged tissues. It strengthens your bones. It improves skin elasticity. It enhances immune function. It's one of the most powerful anti-aging hormones your body naturally produces. But here's the catch. HGH and insulin have an inverse relationship. When insulin is high, HGH is suppressed. When insulin is low, HGH and surge. This is why fasting, even short-term overnight fasting like the 6 p.m. rule creates, is one of the most powerful natural triggers for human growth hormone release. When your insulin levels drop during your overnight fast, your pituitary gland starts secreting pulses of HGH, and this hormone sends a very specific message to every cell in your body. It says, "We're in preservation mode now. Don't touch the muscle. Don't break down lean tissue. We need to protect our metabolically active mass. Instead, use the fat. Burn the stored fat for energy." This is absolutely critical for anyone trying to lose weight in a healthy way. One of the biggest problems with traditional calorie restriction diets is that they often lead to muscle loss along with fat loss. You get lighter on the scale, but you're losing the wrong kind of weight. You're losing muscle, which tanks your metabolism and makes it harder to keep weight off long term. But when you follow the 6 p.m. rule, when you create this overnight fasting window, HGH acts as a protective shield around your muscle mass. It tells your body to preserve lean tissue and preferentially burn fat instead. This is why people who practice time-restricted eating often report feeling tighter, leaner, more defined, even if their overall weight doesn't change dramatically on the scale. You're not just losing weight, you're losing the right kind of weight. You're recomposing your body. You're burning fat while preserving or even building muscle. And you're doing all of this without spending hours in the gym or following some extreme diet protocol. This is the power of working with your hormones instead of against them. HGH is spending the entire night remodeling your body from the inside out. It's repairing muscle fibers, it's tightening skin, it's strengthening connective tissue. And all of this happens automatically while you sleep, as long as you give your body the hormonal environment it needs. It's now 6 a.m. The sun is rising, light is streaming through your window, and inside your body, something remarkable has been completed. You've just finished a full 12-hour fast. From 6 p.m. the previous evening until now, you haven't consumed a single calorie, and your body has undergone a complete metabolic transformation. Now you're in a state that researchers call metabolic flexibility. This is the holy grail of metabolic health. It means your body can seamlessly switch between burning glucose from food and burning fat from storage, depending on what's available. Most people in modern society have completely lost this flexibility. They're stuck in sugar-burning mode, constantly dependent on regular meals and snacks to maintain their energy. They crash when they don't eat. They get irritable, foggy, shaky. But when you follow a consistent eating pattern aligned with your circadian rhythm, your body regains this ancient flexibility. It remembers how efficiently to tap into fat stores. It becomes comfortable using ketones for fuel. You develop what's called metabolic resilience. And here's something you might notice that seems almost paradoxical. You're probably not even hungry. You might have expected to wake up ravenous after not eating for 12 hours, but instead, you feel calm, stable, clear-headed. Your energy is steady. This happens because of a hormone called ghrelin, often called the hunger hormone. When you eat erratically, when you snack constantly, when you eat late at night, ghrelin levels become chaotic and unpredictable. You feel hungry at random times. You get cravings that seem to come out of nowhere. But when you follow a consistent circadian eating pattern, ghrelin becomes regulated. It synchronizes with your eating schedule.
Your body knows when to expect food and when not to. And because your fat stores are being efficiently accessed for energy, your body doesn't send panic signals. It's not starving. It's not depleted. It's simply running on a different fuel source, one that you have plenty of, stored body fat. When you finally do eat breakfast, something else incredible happens. Your insulin sensitivity is at its peak. After a full night of low insulin levels, your cells are hungry for nutrients. They're primed and ready. When you eat that first meal, your body uses those nutrients incredibly efficiently. There's no resistance, no inflammation, no sluggishness. The glucose is rapidly taken up by your muscles and liver. Amino acids from protein are shuttled to repair tissues. The nutrients are actually used for their intended purpose rather than being stored as fat. And there's one more critical process that's been happening throughout the night that we need to talk about: autophagy. This is a cellular cleaning process that only occurs when you're not eating. The word literally means self-eating. During autophagy, your cells essentially take out the trash. They identify damaged proteins, dysfunctional organelles, cellular debris, and they break them down and recycle them. Think of it as your body's overnight cleaning crew. They come in when the restaurant is closed, when there's no new business to deal with, and they deep clean everything. They scrub the floors, empty the trash, fix what's broken. When you wake up, your cells are fresher, cleaner, more efficient. This process has been linked to longevity, disease prevention, and overall cellular health. But it simply cannot happen while you're eating. Autophagy is suppressed by insulin and nutrients. It only kicks in during extended periods without food. By stopping at 6 p.m. and fasting until morning, you're giving your body the time it needs for this critical maintenance work. You're not just burning fat, you're cleaning house at the cellular level. You're optimizing your body from the inside out. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but I have a life, I have social commitments, I have a family. How am I supposed to stop eating at 6 p.m. every single night? And that's a completely fair question. The science is powerful, but it's useless if you can't actually apply it to your real-world circumstances. So let me give you some practical strategies that will help you implement this successfully without turning your entire life upside down. First, let's talk about the mental hunger challenge. Around 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., you're going to feel something. It might not even be true physical hunger. Most of the time, it's habit hunger. Your brain is used to snacking at night. Maybe you always have dessert after dinner. Maybe you eat popcorn while watching TV. Your brain has linked these activities with food, and when the activity happens without the food, it sends hunger signals. Here's a simple trick that works incredibly well: the tea trick. When you feel that evening hunger, instead of raiding the pantry, make yourself a cup of caffeine-free herbal tea: chamomile, peppermint, ginger, whatever flavor you enjoy. The warmth of the tea mimics the sensation and comfort of eating. The liquid fills your stomach. The ritual of preparing it and sipping it slowly satisfies the behavioral need for a nighttime routine. Within 10 to 15 minutes, that hunger feeling usually disappears. Why? Because it was never real physiological hunger in the first place. It was habit, boredom, or psychological association. The tea breaks the pattern without breaking your fast. Second strategy: control your light exposure. Remember, melatonin is the key hormone that makes this entire process work, and melatonin production is directly controlled by light exposure. Bright lights, especially the blue light from screens and overhead LED lights, suppress melatonin production. They trick your brain into thinking it's still daytime. After 8 p.m., start dimming your environment. Turn off bright overhead lights. Use lamps instead. If you're watching TV or using your phone, enable night mode or blue light filters. Consider using orange-tinted glasses that block blue light. These simple changes help your brain naturally ramp up melatonin production on schedule, which not only helps you fall asleep easier, but also reinforces the metabolic shift into fat-burning mode. Third strategy, and this is critical, start gradually. If you're currently eating dinner at 8 p.m. or snacking until 10 p.m., don't try to immediately jump to a 6 p.m. cutoff. That's too drastic. Your body and your habits need time to adapt. Instead, start by moving your last meal 30 minutes earlier. If you normally eat at 8 p.m., try 7:30 p.m. for 1 week. Just 1 week. Let your body adjust. Let your schedule adjust. Then, the following week, move it to 7 p.m., then 6:30 p.m., then finally to 6 p.m. This gradual approach allows your hunger hormones to
Sorry, the stuff for this one is in the van, in the truck, right? Let me find out parking. You see there? Oh, okay.